joining us.
Welcome.
How's your morning?
Thanks. Pretty good. It's close to Christmas. Busy time. We're going to host the family down because we've just built a house, and so it's just getting all ready for that.
How many people are you going to have?
We're going to have 16 adults and my 2 little kids. So it'll be good fun.
Yeah.
And it'll be my first go at cooking meat on a spit roast. So let's hope I get that correct.
Good luck to you.
Thanks.
All right. So I thought we could start off. You can tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, what was your childhood like?
Sure. All right. Well, I'm Peter Dee from Lone Market. I grew up in Brisbane in the 80s. So very laid back, summery lifestyle, and you can edit that out. I'll start again for you. Yes, Peter Dee from Lone Market. I'm a Brisbane boy. I spent the first 30 years of my life growing up in Brisbane, in the suburb of Yeronga, which is in the inner south. Hot summers, very hot summers, and very pleasant winters. So mad cricketer. Just love my cricket. Could play it all day, watch it all day, but my partner and children don't like me watching cricket all day. But other passion was golf growing up in Brisbane. Just the weather was conducive to it, and water sports. And went to my local Yeronga Primary school. Was fortunate enough to be school captain there in my final year, and then progressed to high school in Brisbane, and didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left school. Had a great childhood, 3 siblings, mum and dad, and fluffed around and pretended to be a professional golfer for 4 years. So that's what I did when I first left school.
Okay.
And thought one day I'd play on the tour. Didn't quite work out that way.
So where to from there?
I took a year off. Mum's British, so went over to the UK, followed the Ashes round in 2005. If any of your listeners know that Ashes series, Australia finally lost an Ashes after a period of dominance for 16 years. And it was a great tour to watch, very close. And then came back and realised at some point I had to grow up and get a real job after trying to make it in sport. And was fortunate enough to study a Bachelor of Commerce in Economics at Griffith University in Brisbane. And that was a three-year journey, and really, really loved it. And that's kind of where I started to get exposure to finance. My partner of the time was working as a customer service manager in a brokerage, and she had been in that business since 2005, and exposed, through her friends and family and her work colleagues about financing, because I really had no idea then. It was amazing to watch, and how passionate she was about helping people buy houses. And I was studying and working just part-time in the family business while I was doing that.
Okay, and at what point did you head over to New Zealand?
Yeah, so I went through my commerce degree, and I'm the youngest of my siblings. Mm-hmm. So there's 8.5 years between me and my eldest brother, 7.5 between me and my second eldest, and 5 years between me and my sister. So there's quite a gap. Mm-hmm. And my second eldest brother had married a Kiwi. They're our family, really. He didn't marry his family, of course, but a Kiwi girl and her family were living in Wellington, and they moved over there in 2005. So just as I was starting my studies, and they purchased a pet store over there that was a retiring owner, older, that needed a bit of reinvigoration, And so they owned and operated this pet store from 2005. And as I was getting towards the end of my commerce degree, my partner, who was working as a mortgage broker, it was 2008, which is the global financial crisis. And a lot of change happened in her industry because she was working as a broker by that stage in the loan market network. And she was like, I've had enough. Like, it was a bit stressful, the changes in lending policies that happened. And I said, well, my brother says we should go to New Zealand and open a pet store. I said, do you want to try that for an adventure? And so that's what we did.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. got married, lifted up our lives, and moved to New Zealand in 2009 to open a pet store in the middle of a recession, and took on that challenge, and it was cool.
Tell me more about that. I didn't know that about you.
So moved to Wellington, but only because my brother and my sister-in-law were there. They have 5 children, so yes, they were building their workforce within the family, and they were living in Wellington. And the first store they bought was going really well. It was an existing store, and the one that I got involved in when I came over was a new greenfield site. So that was a bit of a challenge. I had limited experience in managing and running teams and dealing with staff. I had worked in hospitality. My first job out of school was delivering pizzas. Like most people, we start either, delivery driver or something like that.
Making coffees.
Making coffees. At the age of 17. And so I'd done a bit of that, and I was fortunate while I was studying commerce. I was working in the family business. Obviously, who was then became my wife when we moved to New Zealand. She was working in finance as well as a broker, and so in the family business, I was doing management accounting and tax accounting, and so I got immersed in finance and sort of understanding numbers then, and so I went into the business in New Zealand feeling comfortable from a numbers point of view. But that's just one part of it, right? There's the actual executing and getting people on board and building teams. And it was a real learning process.
Okay.
70-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks, but fun.
And how long were you in New Zealand for?
Yeah, so I was there from, I did 2 stints. So I was there from 2009 through to 2000, sort of mid-2011. And by that time, my wife had a bit of enough of the weather in Wellington. If anyone, we're filming this in Melbourne, Melbourne is a step up slightly in weather from Wellington. And she'd had enough of the weather and wanted to come back to Brisbane and actually go back into the brokering industry. So I did come back for a year. Unfortunately, that relationship didn't work out. I went back to New Zealand in 2012 through to 2000 and late 2016. And in that time, we opened up another. So we had the new store when I went over in 2009 open. Then I purchased into the existing store that was there. Then we opened another 2 stores while we're over there. So 35 staff across 4 locations in the Wellington area.
Okay. And what brought you over to Melbourne?
A girl, of course, a relationship. My accountant in New Zealand, who is now my mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And I just got on like a house on fire. We were keen golfers together. So she introduced me to the golf club over there, Royal Wellington Golf Club, and I joined up there. And my current partner, Kate, was married to someone else and living her best life in Melbourne. She'd lived here from, that's a good question. She must be here almost 20 years now. And so, so 2014 or 15, she moved to Melbourne. And Philippa is my mother-in-law, and she said, why don't you meet my daughter, because the relationship had gone their separate ways and I was single as well. And so I got to know Kate through her mother-in-law, arranged marriage, you could say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Kate said to me, I've had enough moving. I'm staying in Melbourne. And so we did a bit of long-distance dating. And then I had now been involved in New Zealand by then for 7 years, and I was happy for a change. I had qualified and worked as a mortgage broker in my stint in Brisbane, so I knew that it was a career that I could come back to, and so that's exactly what I did. I moved back to Melbourne, reached out to the amazing team at Loan Market and said, I'd love to come back and work again as a mortgage broker within your network, and they helped facilitate that.
Amazing. So tell me about the relationship between Loan Market and Ray White and how that came.
Yeah, so 2005 was when I was first exposed to Loan Market, and at that stage, people may not realise the White family group own both businesses. They're independent businesses. They're not joined in any way other than the White family group have ownership in them. And so Sam White, one of Brian White's sons, runs Loan Market, and Dan White runs Ray White. And at that time, growing up in Brisbane, that's the home ground of Ray White. It started in Toowoomba or Crow's Nest. And so Loan Market naturally had a fit, and a previous name of Loan Market was actually Ray White Financial Services, but through a few purchases and changes, and they wanted to grow the brand, and we now help clients in whatever agency that they buy through, not just Ray White. That synergy worked, and so my exposure was Loan Market with Ray White in Brisbane. So I worked alongside the team at Ray White Annerley, amazing business, and the owners are still there. And so when I came back, when I reached out to Loan Market, I said I really like that idea of building my own brokerage business around the model where we're working closely with real estate agents. The reality is real estate agents deal with a lot of buyers coming through the open homes, and buyers are the people that we help generally. So we obviously can help vendors as well, but the natural fit when you're first starting is to help that buyer purchase that house.
Okay. Tell me what a day in the life of a broker looks like.
Yeah, it can be a mad scramble. Like our industry is changing a lot. I think there's now over 20,000 registered brokers. We write 75% of home loans in Australia, and typically brokers, especially in 2005, were one-man bands or might have one person and a staff member at best. Now they're bigger businesses. So when it was one-man band, we did everything. You know, we would go to the open homes, we would help the real estate agent check people in, we'd build relationships with the buyers, often at the open homes, or have some other referral source, whether it's accountants or financial planners. And then we would be assisting the clients from start to finish. Now with the bigger brokerages, so I'm part of a group of 10 brokers, we've got about another 15 support staff, is that I can now be focused more on the client and then working alongside real estate agents to help those clients achieve their goals. So a day in my life as a broker is predominantly on the phone, talking to clients, asking about their goals and objectives, and coming up with solutions to achieve those goals and objectives. And it's predominantly buying property, but often the mortgage broker is this counsel to someone, because they'll say, I need an accountant, or I need a conveyancer, that's within a property transaction, or I need a builder because I'm a thing, or a plumber. And often, because we've built such a good relationship helping this person buy their most expensive asset, is that we become this referral source to them and guide coach, or whatever you want to call it, to help them with this property purchase.
So I didn't realise your team was so big, so 10 and 15 support staff.
Yeah.
Tell me about the dynamics in that team and how that all works.
Yeah, so we're a Loan Market franchise, and within our industry, there's a few different models. You can be a salaried employee of a franchise where you collect a salary and they most probably provide you with some sort of leads or referral source or something like that. Or you can be a self-employed contractor, which is what I am. So I run my own business. I have my own staff, but we're with part of the One Network Brokering Loan Market franchise. And so Nick Gurry is our managing director. And for me, he's a mentor, right? So he's my coach or business coach. When I have ideas, we bounce it off each other. He helps me stay accountable to my own goals and objectives as well as a business owner. And so we have over be close to 200 years of experience within our team. Wow. So often I won't know the answer, and that's okay. And I say, I don't know, but let me go and ask someone from our team because there's a lot of experience in there.
Yeah, amazing. What are some of the best and worst parts of the job?
Yeah, I think the best part is the phone call that you get to make to a client saying your loan's approved. Yeah, I don't think there's any better experience. Even in like, this is a busy period leading up to Christmas. Lots of people want to settle before Christmas. And in the last month, I've been able to help a single mother with a disabled adult children and have that phone call where you say, congratulations, you've qualified and you're going to be buying this house. And the reactions on the phone, you can only imagine, yeah, because often people think that it's not possible or they're unsure when we're doing lending, we're doing lots of applications every month, and we have an almost 100% approval rate when we lodge an application. So we're not going to lodge an application where we don't know it's going to be approved. So we have internal confidence, but our clients don't, because they might do this once every 10 years, right? Whereas we're doing it 10 or 15 times a month just within my own team.
Yeah.
And so making that phone call is, definitely the most rewarding. And same with first home buyers, helping them because, it's the first time they've done it. They don't know if they're going to get approved. And you get to ring them up and say, hey, congratulations, you're going to be buying this house. Like, this is going to be your home to make your own little world, your own little nest. And so, that's definitely the most rewarding. The toughest part of the job is sometimes explaining to clients about the decisions they've made earlier in their life are now impacting on their ability to get a loan. And so that realisation can be a challenge. But we don't just say you can't buy your property now or you're not going to achieve your goals now. They come to us to help guide them on, well, what do I need to put in place to achieve that goal? So sometimes when we have to explain to a client or a couple that it's not going to work today, we always put a plan in place on, but if you do these things, this is in 12 months' time or 2 years' time, you can achieve your goal. And so that's very rewarding because, we want to focus on the goals of the client. And even if it's not achievable today, what do you need to make that a reality in the future?
Yeah.
It's definitely a fun part of the job.
Okay. What are your thoughts on property and finance in 2025?
Who knows? As I said, I studied commerce and was fortunate to do an economics degree. And the one joke that economists have is like, we don't even know whether it's going up or down or sideways. And I remember during the pandemic, something Sam White said when he was asked about interest rates. And he goes, well, I don't think anyone knows, let alone the Reserve Bank. And so if they don't know, how could we really know? What I do know is that there's still large amounts of population growth through migration, which is going to continue to keep demand there in property. And those people will want assistance and we'll be helping them along the way. I have a mortgage like everyone else. I'd love rates to go down. And I think there's some evidence that next year that's what the direction will be. But I'm not sure when that'll happen. And when we work with clients, we always talk about the repayments today. Like, you'd never get a loan thinking the repayments, if rates go down, I can afford that, but I can't. Like, it's a bit of a stretch right now. We always do our assessment based on what's achievable today. We know where rates are, and banks put in their own buffers for if rates go up. Like, there's still a 3% buffer that most banks put on. But so I'm not sure where the rates will go, but I think property will continue to be an important part. Like, we're in Australia. We love talking property. It's something that at the barbecue we always talk about. And Victoria has pretty much gone sideways for 12 months now. So touch wood. There's no wood here. But it will see some growth next year because the rest of Australia has had some really great growth over the last 18 months. Okay.
Do you have any goals for 2025?
Yeah, I do. So my eldest daughter starts school, prep next year. So that's super exciting. Being a school dad, so I think some of my goals is to just get involved in her activities, in extracurricular activities. As a business, we want to keep growing. Like, I have two amazing credit managers that work really close with me, Jeff and Nana, and we want to push our way into being a top 250 brokerage in Australia as an individual, as a broker within that group. And so, we see some growth. We help about 85 to 90 clients last financial year, and our goal is to crack 100 and keep growing there. And because I want to do more of those phone calls of you're approved, right? It's a true buzz to make that. So that's the work goals. Personally, now that my eldest daughter's starting school, I don't know if I get more time back or less. You might be able to tell me that.
Depends.
Yeah. So I think we'd like to travel as a family, a bit more domestic travel.
Where's your next location?
Yeah. So growing up in Queensland, I'm relatively new to Victoria in the sense I've got 6, 7 years here. I've never been down in the far southeast. So Malakuta, I'd love to go visit. Down past Wilson's Prom, Lakes Entrance.
Amazing.
Yeah, to the southern part of the Alps. I've never been around that far southeast.
Malakuta was our holiday destination when I was growing up.
Yeah, beautiful.
Stunning.
Yeah. Well, I had a good friend of mine in Brisbane was working on the oil and gas in August, and he just, after, like, there's 2 weeks on, 1 week off would be their swing, and he'd go back to Brisbane. But there's a butcher that he keeps telling me about in August. I think I'm pronouncing that right, August. Oh, anyway, near Malakuta. And he said, yeah, go visit there. So looking forward to doing the trip out there and just seeing that part of the country and the primary production that happens out there as well, because that's some of our best food that we get in Melbourne at our restaurants.
Yeah. Why do you do what you do?
That's a really good question. I do what I do because it is very rewarding helping people buy houses or achieve their property goals. And that's a real buzz. Like, as a broker who really cares about the clients, we end up becoming an advisor to our clients, and we guide them in the right direction. And seeing a client over the space of 2, 3, 4, 5 years paying down their mortgage, because it's one thing to help them get this mortgage and this debt, but we then want to help them pay it down as fast as possible, right? And guiding them on the skills to do that, that's very rewarding. So that's definitely the biggest driver, is just helping people achieve their property goals and watching them have success. Like, there's definitely some tough conversations. We've had a lot of interest rate rises, and unfortunately some of my own clients have definitely been in a fair bit of mortgage stress and having to have those tough conversations, but giving them good advice, like how to deal with hardship in a bank, or whether they should keep it or sell it or go get a second job, or all of those. And so they're human beings in the end that we're dealing with. Like, these are families as well. Like, I've got a 5 and a 3-year-old, helping families have a roof over their head and achieve their financial goals often, or their property goals, is the main rewarding factor. Obviously, it creates a safety net for my own family. It's a job where, if you put in the effort, I won't even call it a job because it's very rewarding. So I think, if you put in the effort at the start, and it's long hours at the start, like, if you're not willing to do 50 to 60 hours a week in that first 2 years, you will struggle to be successful as a mortgage broker. But once you do that and you build up a bit of a client base, and they have trust, then they start referring you to their friends and families, then you're helping just a lot of people that are all connected, and watching them have success is very, very rewarding.
What advice would you give to, like, first home buyers or people looking at getting into the property market?
Yeah, good question. Is start living the lifestyle now that if you wanted to buy a home at 300,000, 400, 500,000, 600,000, whatever that number is, start living that lifestyle today, right? So if it means you've got to spend less on eating out, or you have to get a second job to be able to afford those mortgage repayments, then do that now, so you can start feeling like what it would be like to have this mortgage. Now, lots of the times, if you're paying rent, you are in essence having the cash flow of what feeling like a mortgage payment would be. But if you want your mortgage payment to be $1,000 in addition per month to your rent, well, start saving that $1,000, because if your rent's $2,000 a month and you want to have a mortgage of $3,000 a month, and you're not saving $1,000 a month, you have to change your lifestyle. Like, there has to be a change. It's not going to magically happen. And so the best thing I'd say is keep saving as a first home buyer, and get in touch with a broker as soon as possible about what your property goals are as a first home buyer, what that look like, and get them to put in a plan in place for you now on what your income and expenses should look like.
Okay, that's good advice.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah,
Pete.
yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Definitely. No, it's been a pleasure. Lovely to sit down and be the first broker on the podcast here.
It's been lovely.
Great.
Merry
Perfect.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Thanks.